So what are you saying, people? It's another episode of the Social Worker and the Mentor. Mm-hmm. What are you saying, Rob?
I'm there, you know.
Bro, we're getting through it, you know, the episodes.
Yeah.
We're getting through it, you know,
man.
you're getting through it.
Yeah.
You know, I gotta admit, I'm quite proud with what we're producing, you know.
Yeah.
Really, really good feedback. Man. It's good to kind of engage with people.
And you know as well, guys, like, if there's any topics of conversation that you know that you want me and Nana to discuss, like, you know, put it in the comments, email us, contact us, Instagram.
Email us, absolutely.
So any you know, topics of conversation or
email us,
you know, anything that you know you want us to discuss, like, let us know, and you know we'll discuss it, you know, because I think that's also important as well.
Yeah, our email is thesocialworkerandmentor@gmail.com. So you can email myself and Rob. You can reach out to us.
Yeah, that's it.
You know, oh, that reminds me.
Yeah. Listen, like, subscribe. We
are on TikTok,
like and subscribe.
Instagram.
So it's like is it? Do they pay? Is it free or?
It's free, bruv.
And what about subscribing? Is it free?
Free.
Are they charged?
No, I ain't charged,
So
bruv.
did you say free?
It's free.
Well, you don't pay.
Don't pay, bruv.
Hey,
free.
Taylor.
Exactly.
Hey.
So we are on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Spotify, gonna be on iTunes and Patreon. So guys, just make sure you like and subscribe. Yeah. Right. So, Rob.
Yeah.
This episode here, it's a very, very deep one.
Oh, yeah.
So everyone, just as kind of like a disclaimer, if anybody is going through this, I would advise you, please seek the right support. Yeah. But this is quite a deep episode. Rob, I want to talk about domestic violence in the UK. I know it's not Domestic Violence Awareness Month, but domestic violence awareness should be regular. Should be every day. Every day, bruv, yeah? Domestic violence, bruv, right now in the UK, it is very, very concerning. I remember during the pandemic, a lot of cases that I worked...
There's an increase, isn't it?
There was a big increase in domestic violence cases.
Yeah.
That skyrocketed through the roof.
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of them were self-referrals. Loads of women with children had made a lot of referrals and spoken to domestic violence agencies about what they were experiencing in the pandemic. And lockdown, everything increased dramatically. I mean, percentage-wise, I think when I did my research, brother, it was 65% of domestic violence referrals during the pandemic. And this year, I think June 2022, that's gone up by 14%. Okay. And as a social worker, there were many, many children who, you know, they were exposed to that. And, bruv, it's very, very worrying, to be honest with you, in terms of what a lot of women are experiencing. Just even more deeper stats. 2 women every week are killed.
It's probably more than that.
Yeah, or even more. Yeah, or even more
than that,
are killed for being a victim of domestic violence. And as social workers, we have to try and work with women as much as possible, and also work with the children. So during the pandemic, I remember whereby many women who were experiencing domestic violence, we couldn't meet them in the home for obvious reasons. We had to speak to them at certain times. We had to meet them in the office, and they often had to go and maybe say to their partners that, oh, they're going shopping. And we had to try and do what we can to support them. But bruv, domestic violence, bruv, it's deep. And bruv, it's getting younger.
Yeah. It's
not just people who are in their 30s or their 40s. There's young people right now who experience domestic violence. I'm going to go a bit even deeper because I know within recent months or so, we've had social media influencers who, I'm not making it say many names, but they've spoken about their own experiences of being victims of domestic violence. And I think it's important that not just as a social worker, as a mentor, but as professionals and public,
do you know
that we have to be open and talk about it. We do.
Yeah, there's something I want to say before you elaborate and go into it, right? Yeah. I want to say, as a man, as 2 men, right, yeah, forget me as a professional, yeah? This is me as a man.
As men, yeah.
Right, as a man, yeah, all right? I don't believe any man should be putting his hand on any women. Sorry, full stop. Yeah?
100%.
Right? No man should be putting his hand on any women. Now, yes, when you're in a relationship and, you know, working with a lot of families, you know, that can be toxic, could be friends, could be families that I work with as a professional, right? Yeah, there are times where the relationship can be quite toxic.
Absolutely.
And there are going to be times when maybe the partner, male and female, might push the other partner to the point of putting his hands or her hands
That's
on the
right.
man or the women. No, it's wrong, guys. It's wrong. Yeah,
It is wrong.
I'm not here to preach and say this is what you should do, but no, it's wrong. Shouldn't be doing it. Yeah,
It is wrong.
Shouldn't be doing
Absolutely,
it.
it is wrong.
And
It is wrong.
as a professional, you know, working with, you know, vulnerable families and families that have trauma, bro. Yeah, because these are the families that we work with, brother. They have trauma. It's trauma.
Yeah, it is.
It's family trauma. It's broken relationships, and most of the broken families that we work with, brother, there's domestic violence.
There is. And one of the things, Rob, that I do want to touch upon, you know, I did a 7-day domestic violence training. This is about maybe 5 or 6 years ago. And one of the things the trainer spoke about was sometimes the language that professionals used, whereby potentially, say for example, it's a mother with children, and often would say that the mother wouldn't leave the partner. So putting the onus on the victim. Why is it she's still, like the trainer was saying that some of the reports they've seen from some social workers that the mother is putting the children at risk because the mother is still staying, or the mother is minimizing what's actually going on. Yeah. Now, that kind of opened my eyes up a lot, because I think a lot of the times as professionals, sometimes we do go and say, you know what, that the mother is remaining in the relationship despite the risks. What I kind of want to say on that is that there is a model that I want people to read and look at, and brother, you've probably seen it. It's the Power and Control Reel.
Yeah.
The Power and Control Reel looks at the dynamics of domestic violence. That it's not as easy as professionals think for any kind of mum with children just to leave the male perpetrator.
Yeah.
So if you look at the Power and Control Reel, it literally dissects it, because some women potentially may stay not because they want to, but there might be the fact that maybe to do finances. Because I worked with a lot of cases, bruv, whereby there's women who, when they go and cut and leave, or for example, their finances are controlled by the man. So the man controls everything, and he may not give money towards the children. So the woman potentially has to stay because, and I don't want to, has to stay in that relationship because of that. And there's also cultural aspects as well to that. So I think as professionals, as social workers, when we are working with a lot of mothers who are in domestic violence relationships, we have to be conscious of that. And that's one of the things, bruv, that the trainer, when I did that 7-day domestic violence training, the trainer said that it can be quite dangerous when social workers go
100%.
and can go and say that and say that, oh, the mum's is not what do you call it, leaving. Now, yes, of course, we have to highlight that there are risks if the mum does stay. But there's things underneath, bruv, that are going on. And the Power and Control Wheel model, I really want people to really look at that model. Because it's not always, bruv, because even, bruv, I had to learn that. It's not always easy that mothers can just go and break away with their kids. Because actually, there's actual stuff that's going on that may prevent them from leaving, even though they want to, you get me?
Yeah, I think you made a good point what you said earlier. Culture. All right, so... you know, I'm not gonna name a specific culture, but what I am gonna say, and I hate using this word. So there's a word in local authority that they like to use, but not use, is BAME. You know, Black, African, minority, ethnic groups. Okay, right, yeah, right. Now that represents a specific culture from Bengali, Pakistani, Caribbean, African, Eritrean, Somalian. You know, right, yeah, that culture or that group. Okay, all right, yeah. Now in that group, yeah. Hitting children is standard. Let's just keep it real. I'm not going to be behind the bush and lie. Hitting children is standard in that culture. It's the norm. Back home, it's norm. Come here. Bang. You know, you might slap your child on their leg or in their arm, whatever, whatnot. It's standard procedure. Yeah? But you can't do it in the UK. Yeah? That's safeguarding. Okay? That's child protection. Okay? All right? Now, in relationships, yeah, once again, in specific, in specific groups or cultures, a man hitting a woman is normal. It's not normal, bruv. It's not normal in the UK. In the UK, you know, right? It's assault.
Yeah.
Yeah, right?
But in other cultures,
it's the norm. So what you said just now is a key thing.
It is.
Now,
it's very key.
the thing is, when we work with these families, one of the things I'm quite thorough, is it's the children. Oh, yeah? I sit down with the child and I ask them in 10 different ways, is there any violence that you're seeing at home with your mum and dad? Do you hear them argue? Right, yeah? So it's sort of like, I'm kind of like using the child as like a bit of a pawn or...
No, bruv,
to get through...
Bruv, don't use that word. I don't think, bruv, using the child... It's what it is, bruv. It's direct work to understand what that child's experiencing at home if there's conflict between the parents.
Exactly right, right. So, because 9 times out of 10... if I ask a woman at first, she's not going to tell me, oh yeah, he's beating me or he's putting his hands on me. They're not going to tell you, bro. They're going to make it like everything's okay. Okay, right, at first, okay? I've actually got friends that have gone through domestic violence, yeah?
Same as well, I have as well too, yeah.
And one of the things I used to ask them, right? And it took me years to understand it, to be honest with you. I've had friends that have gone through, and bruv, I'm talking, bust lip, eye bust up, broken leg, man's punch him in the face like it's Mike Tyson, right, yeah? And I've asked him, why are you still with him? I asked him. Oh, no, he didn't mean it. Okay, he didn't mean it once, twice, 3 times, and you're still there. And I keep asking him, why are you still there, right? But then I had to understand, free training is like, when you say to them, why are you still there, right, yeah? They want to escape, but they don't know how to escape.
But this is what, brother, I was saying to you about the power and control wheel, or the wheel of control. That model, and I really want people to look at it, that model dissects a lot why there's lots of women who can't flee but want to flee. Do you know what I'm saying? And they've got children but they can't, because once they do that, because remember, domestic violence here, and I'm just going to be clear, everyone, it's not just about the physical. It's the emotional.
Yes.
It's the financial as well.
Yes.
So I've worked with cases, bruv, where there's women who they've said to me, Nana, look, but I can't because everything is in his name. Or there may be issues to do with their status. He might be British. They may be a do you know what I mean? Yeah. There's so many complicating factors as professionals that we have to consider when it comes to women and children, to them leaving. I want to go even a bit deeper. Sorry to elaborate, but one thing that also we have to challenge parents on domestic violence is there's some parents whereby I've worked with, they're often going to say, you know what? Oh, my son or daughter's not being affected by domestic violence. I want to challenge that. The Domestic Violence Act 2021 has also classed children as victims, brothers, of domestic violence. Yeah. Children who see or who are exposed to are victims. And that's the reason why, brother, that we have a lot of children.
It's trauma.
Yeah, who go on child protection plans. Because, and the category is emotional, under the category of emotional harm. Yeah. The children are being exposed to it. They're hearing it, they're seeing it. It's the emotional impact that arguments, or maybe a mother hitting the father or the father hitting the mother has on that child. So that's the reason why. So when a lot of parents, they come to conferences and they disagree with the plan, I often had to go and say, but the reason why those children are on a child protection plan or they're going on child protection is because the children are being exposed to domestic violence. Some parents go and say, oh, maybe like it's a baby or the baby's young. But bruv, you know one thing, young children, even babies, they pick up on what happens. You know what I'm saying? I've had referrals where there's been an incident and the police have said the child was there, the baby was crying, because babies are picking up on their surroundings. They know what's actually going on between their parents. You know what I'm saying to you? But the Domestic Violence Act has been created because it had to also consider children as victims.
So the word domestic and the word violence, and when you think about during lockdown, there was a massive increase with domestic violence because, people didn't have space, so the man who might have been you know, the actual abuser or the woman, right? Yeah, they didn't have the required space or time out because they had to stay in the house, right? Yeah, the peer pressure of maybe losing their job or not having any money, or you know,
What you're saying,
or whatever the reason was. But I know during lockdown it was peak, yeah, peak for a lot of people, right? Yeah. Now, you made a fantastic point about the children. Children's mental health rose during lockdown, yeah?
skyrocketed.
Self-harm.
Rose.
Yeah? Suicide.
Rose, yeah.
Right, yeah? Now, one of the things because there are so many different angles that we can go, but I think the one that I sort of like, when I just really, I suppose, focus on is it's getting help, and it's finding the tools and the know-how to leave the abuser if you are in that situation. And also for us as professionals to really have the empathy,
That's
the
right.
know-how,
That's right.
the knowledge,
And the understanding. That's
of
right.
what this is. And also identifying it. Because listen, hear what now? Let me tell you something, right, yeah? It's very easy to sort of like be blindsided. Oh no, everything's okay. Yeah, everything's fine. Right, what happened to your head? Oh no, I banged it. Oh yeah, at the gym. Right?
Absolutely.
Very easy to.
Absolutely,
It's very easy to be what's the word I'm looking for now?
To not be observant.
Not be observant.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Everything, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. We have to be on point.
Can I jump on the back of that, what you just said? Yeah. What you just said, Rob, is absolutely key. As professionals, as social workers, as professionals who work within safeguarding, these are the observations and things that we have to pick up on. Yeah. And I'll tell you the reason why. If many of you remember Clare's Law, I'm gonna go to it.
Yeah.
So Clare's Law was introduced. I can't remember her surname,
Yeah.
but this lady got a surname, but she was a victim of domestic violence, yeah? And she'd gone to the police. Claire Wood, that's her name, Claire Wood. So Claire Wood in 2009 was killed by her ex-partner. But she had gone to the police on several occasions, reporting what was going on. And the police, their failings that they dismissed it.
Yeah.
And what actually happened is that within the inquiry, they were kind of saying that the police had, the word you use, it was a lack of understanding or didn't go and take it seriously. That actually led to her death. So obviously now with Clare's Law, it allows, women who are in domestic violence relationships to, speak to the police and see, and find out whether, or it could be a future partner.
Yeah.
If they have a history of being a potential abuser. And I think actually I will say it's important. It needs to be utilized.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Because like I said, domestic violence for me, it's no joke. I don't play with domestic violence cases. Not just for women who are on their own, but women who have children.
Yeah.
It's about the children, it's about the women, because also the children also get caught.
Of course they do.
In the crossfire as well.
It's a family setup, isn't it?
So it's important as professionals, what Robert said, we've got to make sure that when these referrals are coming in, you take it seriously. And I'm also speaking to our police colleagues as well. When women are talking about their experiences of domestic violence and they've got children, it's not to be dismissive. Because Clare's Law was introduced for a reason, because of what she experienced. You know what I'm saying? But having said that, I want to go down a different angle as well. Men in the UK are also victims of domestic violence, and it's not spoken about. Yeah. 6 men every single year are killed by being victims of domestic violence. I've worked with cases, bruv, with men who are victims, who I've met in the office. They've come to me, they're crying. They're victims. There's children involved. And a lot of men feel, and it goes back to what maybe one of our other episodes, feel that the system in terms of them and domestic violence, they're not heard.
Yeah.
There's many men who feel that their experiences are dismissed. And the men who are in domestic violence relationships and they do stay, many who I've spoken to stay because if they've got children, they're staying because they want to make sure they see the kids. Or they don't want the mother to take the children from them. So they're not likely to go and report it, or they'll go and say that it's nothing.
Yeah.
It's important that I say this because I know that we're speaking about women and mothers, but we also have to talk about men.
Oh yeah.
Because bruv, like I said, bruv, I've done the training.
Yeah.
And I've done the training for perpetrators.
Yeah.
And for victims.
Yeah.
and I've done training with men,
Yeah.
and this is what they've been saying to me.
Bruv, listen, let me tell you something, right, yeah? There's two things I got to say. All right, so, like, men, yeah? A man, what is a man? Yeah, a man is supposed to be, strong, yeah? Masculine, yeah? I don't know, thug, bad boy, soldier, don't cry. That's the mentality that you're supposed to have as a man. You're brought up in a certain culture or in a certain way. So a man is supposed to be strong. You can't cry, being a man, yeah? But let's not get this thing twisted, right? Men cry and bleed just like a woman does, right, yeah? And I'm very much an advocate for men. There's a lot of men, as we spoke about before, that don't see their children. I don't like that. I don't play that at all. And I'll always be an advocate for their men who are not seeing their children. But guess what? One of the things that me and you've discussed, if there's domestic violence in a relationship and a man is physically abusing a woman, no, you can't see his children. Get him away from the woman and the children, right? But once again, in the last 2 years, a man's masculine and his vulnerability has become more open now, which is a fantastic thing, because a lot of men have trauma, bruv, right? They experience a lot of trauma.
You do.
And I think another thing is, people seem to think, it's not about these women physically boxing man or throwing things at man.
It's the emotional
side.
It's emotional, and that's what, bro. A lot of the men who I've worked with, they've gone and said that.
Yeah.
So a lot of the men who I've worked with, and they're victims of domestic violence.
Yeah.
They've gone and said, Nana, you know what? It's not even the physical stuff.
Yeah.
It's the emotional. Yeah. It's the fact that I know that if she goes and takes the children, even though I'm the victim, I will never see them.
I'll give you a prime example. Sorry to cut you right here. So many conversations that I've had with a lot of friendship groups and professionals, right, yeah? There's a lot of men that stay in the relationship. As you said, there's a lot of men that stay in the relationship with the woman. It's not really at first to do with domestic violence. It's because they never had their father figure. So they want to give their children the structure and the stability where, do you know what? My dad left me and my mum, or I never had my dad, but you know what? I'm not going to do that to my children. So the father would stay to give his children stability. But then the mum, for some reason, we don't know, it could be she's falling out of love with the guy, it could be domestic violence, it could be a number of things.
Anything, yeah.
But it will always come down to some form of emotional blackmail or emotional domestic abuse.
And that's what a lot of men do. And that's what a lot of men, bruv, have said. And I think it's important because this domestic violence thing that we're talking about, we are talking about it on a wider scale.
Yeah.
But we're making sure, with me and Rob, we're making sure we're giving you two sides to it. Because yes, the majority of victims of domestic violence are women. It's women, and I'm not dismissing that at all.
No.
The majority of victims,
yes,
has always been women.
Yeah.
It has, and like I said, the death rate for women is very high with domestic violence. You know what I'm saying? And I'm always gonna say that if you're a woman and you are experiencing domestic violence and you've got children, seek the right support.
Yeah,
I know it's difficult, but seek the right support. But there's men as well who me and Robert have worked with who are victims as well, and it's going on, and the men that they really feel that they're less of a man, that it's a taboo to speak up. And you know what? This is in conjunction with male suicide. There's a lot of men who are victims of domestic violence. If they're not killed by being victims, they also commit suicide. Listen,
let me say something right, yeah? So as I'm supposed, well, a lot of people know, if you're in the social care education sector, like I like to think that you know this. So men have the highest rate of suicide, more than women.
More than women, yeah.
There's a lot of men that actually commit suicide due to not seeing their children, due to the emotional domestic violence, emotional blackmail. Yeah? All right? So this isn't physical, this is emotional. Do you know what I mean, right? Yeah? And I think one thing that's quite important for me as well, bruv, is that, you know, we're trying to raise our children or this younger generation, right? Yeah? You know, so even though I work with families, I'm an advocate for young people. That's my role. It's not the parent, bruv, or the mum or the dad. It's the child, right? Yeah. So it affects the children massively.
It does,
right? Yeah. if a child is supposed to have structure and stability and love, yeah. Now, if they're in bed now and he's hearing mum and dad
fighting arguing
at a big 12:30 night time, or he's hearing brap, and he's thinking, what's that? And he comes outside, go back in your room. So the dad or mum could be shouting that. That's gonna trigger him. It's trauma, bruv.
It's trauma, yeah.
Do you understand? Like, for me, it's just not cool, bruv. Listen, let me tell you something, right, yeah? There is no perfect man. There is no perfect woman, yeah? All right? People make mistakes. But, guys, it's not cool. And I think for me as well, the pressure over the last 3 years has been immense. It's been immense for humankind and mankind. Bruv, the energy is not great right now. People are losing their jobs, right? The cost of living, you know, people are struggling financially, yeah? You know, you're getting more and more children with disabilities and like autism, Asperger's, or low learning ability. You know, families are losing their children to death, to gang relation, whatever, whatnot. So the pressure of being a family, and for a man who was supposed to be the head of the household to look after his family, who is struggling, yeah, or the woman who is trying her best to look after her man, her partner, and the children, and she's not getting you know, the respect and the appreciation that she deserves from the man. It's difficult, bruv.
It's very difficult.
So as professionals, right, yeah, these are things that we got to consider.
We have to make sure we do consider we do. But as you said, Rob, in terms of the children, what they're experiencing, it does impact upon them.
100%.
And I think, Rob, like, you know, when it comes to parents as well, and parents say it's not, as professionals, we got to put parents in check. And I
beg you say that again.
Yeah, no. When it comes to domestic violence, because sometimes, bruv, as a social worker, I've had parents go and say, "Oh, the child's fine." As professionals, we have to put parents in check. We have to be saying to parents that, you know what, domestic violence does have an impact on children. If they are being exposed, it will, because, bruv, there's children who said to me and other colleagues that, "Oh, you know, I don't like when my mummy and daddy argue." Because a lot of it is the counter allegation, and it's the physical. It is a lot, and this is the reason why it's important to have the discussion and talk about this topic.
100%.
You know, it's important that people look at the Domestic Violence Act, you know, 2021, because it says it. Yeah. You know, but what I will say is, for anybody, and this is for man and woman, if you are experiencing domestic violence, seek support where you can. There's organizations like for women's. There's you know, there's Women's Solace Aid, Samaritans. I know Southall Black Sisters.
Yeah, there's a lot.
There's Hestia.
Yeah,
you know.
But then guess what? Sorry about that. But guess what? Your name is so much organizations for women, right? Yeah, as I said before, this isn't a men against women thing. This is just making sure that, you know, we make our audience aware that, listen, yes, there is loads of women domestic violence, but right now I couldn't name you even 5 men charities that deal with domestic violence, because that's the lack of,
that's the gap.
That's the gap where there's a lack of information. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And the lack of knowledge maybe that I have as a professional. But what we are going to do, you know, what you said the other day, I think we are going to find some charities and definitely have it on the screen.
We need to,
which is quite important, though.
We need to, because domestic violence, like I said, it's a real issue. And like I said earlier, we need to even talk about how, bruv, it's the younger generation, because there's because bruv, there's young people who are 14 to 30, and bruv, domestic violence, bruv, it's happening.
Can I say something? I'm not laughing. This isn't funny. I know this is a serious topic because it is, but I've got to tell you something though, right? Yeah. So, like, but when I was growing up, right, but you had all these groups like Boys to Men and Jodeci and SWV, right? Right, yeah, all right. So obviously, man's learning about how to like talk to women, and you know how to move together. And my name is Robert. What's your name and everything like that. Now this is all taught now. This generation, they don't have none of that, bruv. It's just it's straight grime and hip hop, right? Yeah. So they're not taught how to, like, especially the boys. They're not taught how to, like, talk to girls. I mean, come here. Hey, come here. Hey, light things, come here. That's how they talk to girls,
light skin,
bro. No, it's true. This is real talk, right? Yeah. So, and what is normal? What is normalized, but it's like a massive concern. The young boys have got no idea how to talk to these young girls. They're grabbing them up, punching them, and oh, why are you punching me for? It's the norm.
Bruv.
No. This is real.
Bruv, look at Greenwood Classic. Look at Greenwood.
Right.
Footballer.
Exactly.
And when she posted what she posted,
yeah.
You know what I'm saying to you. So this thing about domestic violence,
it's no joke.
I know we're branching off, but I'm saying as professionals, we're just saying, even for younger people, that 14 to 30 age brat cohort, domestic violence is on the rise.
Yep.
But the main thing we're talking about is just domestic violence awareness. We want to make people aware. We want to make professionals aware. You know, if you're experiencing it.
Now, do you know? Sorry to cut you right, yeah. And this is why, because sometimes when we talk, I paint pictures. Right, that's my media side, isn't it? My writing side. So when people talk to me, sometimes I paint pictures, right, yeah. And it just goes back, like once again, you know, to be taught in school, and maybe even us as professionals, like, you know, thinking of putting certain things in place, because for the young people, this also goes down to relationships, social skills, life skills, right? Yeah. Right. Yeah. A lot of it is trial and error. I mean, like, everybody eventually, meets a partner, right? Yeah. Now it's trial and error, right? Like, are we taught? Is a man taught how to love? Is a man taught how to like look after a family? Is like, you don't know. It's like it's trial and error. Like, you try and you see how it goes and everything. But when you have, like, you know, adults as us who are able to talk to the younger generation and say, well, listen, bro, I don't think you should have hit her. You know, she likes it. What do you mean she likes it? They've got no idea. Yeah. Right? And it's the normalization of the behavior that's a concern. Do you know what I mean? But, bruv, this is a very... It's a deep one. And like I said, our podcast, we're talking about it as professionals. Yeah. As a social worker who's worked these cases, as a mentor who's also experienced it, working with a lot of mothers who experience it, and fathers. You know, as well, there's no winners. No one wins here. Yeah. Listen, there are no winners. There's no winners. Right? The father or the mother lose if you are the abuser, right, yeah? The mother and father lose if you're the one, you know, that's the victim, right, yeah? Because it's trauma. Yeah. The child loses because the child's exposed to it. So that's no one wins. There's no winners. That's right. Everybody loses. That's right. Someone's going to prison. Yeah? Right? Someone is getting the 999 call or the 121. That's what's happening, bro. Yeah. There are no winners in this situation, right? Yeah, do you know what I mean? And I think as well, like, what needs to be spoken about as well, if you are an abuser, because I think it's easier to talk about the victim, because all we're talking about is the victim right now. The victim. If you're the abuser, right, seek help. Yeah, you obviously have an anger management issue. Something is triggering you, so you get help as well. Because, bruv, there are programs there, but I think because there's some cases that I've worked with some men, they don't acknowledge it, and there's others actually who do, and say, yes, you know what, I was wrong. I need to go and seek support. But I just think it's important, just kind of like for you know, particularly for parents, because I'm talking as a social worker, parents, when we're working with you and we've got a referral about domestic violence, and the case might go to Child Protection Conference, and we say the category of emotional physical harm, you have to understand the reason why. Because like I said, the Domestic Violence Act 2021, it covers children. And we as professionals, by no way should we be dismiss the children's experience as well. But for anybody who's seeking, who is a victim of domestic violence, you know, there are organizations out there that can support you, and for professionals as well, being mindful of the case and how we work. Like I said, be alert. The wheel of control, or the power control wheel. Yeah, just go through each of those quadrants and have a look. That's it. Yeah. But guys, thank you. No, guys, thank you once so again, much, guys. And one of the things I want to say is, like, this is a very vulnerable, topic of conversation. So please, like, spread this, you know, in terms of, you know, to your, I don't know, for training, or professionals that you know, or please do, because I do feel like some of this information, you know, this is about us just spreading what we've gone through, and you've got a bundles of experience here that work with vulnerable families and young people that are actually going through this right now, or gone through this, man. So please, I appreciate it, man, and thanks for listening. Thanks for listening, guys. Take care, and stay safe. Yeah, nice. Take care, guys.